struggling to figure out how to deal with the Talia. Kassadin, I feel like, would be the best pick here because it struggles a little bit in laning phase, but the moment you get out of it, once you hit that level 6 mark, you have so much kill pressure in the mid. You can put it in a side lane. It works really well with the Gnar, and then all you just need is a well-rounded AD carry that can scale very nicely along with that.
Oh, but this is an interesting adaptation. Echo going to be locked in. Now, we've talked about Talia a lot, and we've said pretty much agreed. Echo could be a viable option against her.
It's very much about the assassins into Talia because something is, she's very good at kiting and she's very good at wave clear. And one of the champions that will struggle in laning phase is an assassin against all that sort of wave clear pressure. But once you hit the level 6 mark and you actually have that assassination potential, there's actually very little that the Talia can do about it because she has no innate dashes. There's no real way to escape from these assassins, and her disengage tools are not actually that reliable. A mobile assassin can find it very easily to avoid a lot of her abilities, especially with the proto belt now available in the game. So Echo mid still works, not as great scaling as the Kassadin, but his laning phase is better because he has a little bit more wave clear, and he can actually get that early shove to avoid any real deficits from the Talia early game.
Of course, waiting on the final pick here for INTZ, really taking their time on the support. It looks like it will, in the end, be the Trundle. A little bit more zone control and potentially an option against that tanky Tahm Kench or Gnar. But looking at the team comps here, Lyon with the Sivir, an absolute power pick in the late game, may balance out a little bit of that scaling that Gangplank brings to the table. But really excited to see how exactly this Talia is executed. A rough performance from what we saw from the Chiefs earlier today. Wondering if INTZ can show us a little bit more.
So it's actually really interesting what INTZ have done, and you can see how both teams have actually got a great grasp on the meta because these are actually both very well-rounded comps. The Trundle was been picked into the Sivir specifically because we know how well the Trundle does. The Pillar works fantastically. You can't spell shield the Pillar. You also have no way to get around it, and during the laning phase it actually sets you up for success. You can also steal a lot of the innate stats from the Tahm Kench, and you can make him just a squishy pile of mud. And overall, it's just this just really interesting draft. But then they early rotated the Talia. They felt like that with the Vladimir gone, there were no really strong picks, as well as the they were also challenging the Malzahar, and to be honest, it's very impressive. I'm looking forward to seeing how this one shakes up.
And you can see Seiya and Revolta on your screen, both legends in their respective regions. Seiya, of course, an all-star mechanical player, former AD carry, now mid laner, busting out the Echo here against Tockers, and Revolta, showing us a fantastic KDA, some excellent team play in the previous game. And when we look at these compositions, Revolta getting the Gragas again, Oddie remains the big question mark here. If this man can match Revolta's early pressure, it's got to be intimidating going up against him, but if he doesn't let it get to his head, I feel like he's got some early game opportunities with this Elise.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what they bring out as we jump into game between Lyon and INTZ. INTZ considered the favorites. We have heard it from Dark Passage. It does seem that a lot of teams have respected them, and after their early performance in game one of the day, there's definitely a believable statement. And now we're going to get to see how Lyon stack up against them. I'm very pleased with their draft. It does seem that they are fully aware of what they needed to pick, and they seem to have strong counter picks. Now it's a question of execution, because they have a strong top laner. Early in the mid, they will struggle. But also down the bottom lane, they can definitely get that push advantage. So there's a lot of room for Lyon to work with.
Yeah, and of course you see the early invade coming in here from micaO, maybe looking to get control on the bottom side, stop the early attempt on Krugs. Tahm Kench and Sivir should be able to do that pretty easily, but not quite so easily with the Jhin threatening at any moment here. But as always, our attention has to remain on the jungle. Elise versus Gragas, potentially a little Elise favored early on, and Revolta, I think one of the top junglers in this tournament, going up against Oddie, who has shown some great domestic results, but not quite as experienced internationally.
No, definitely not. But the interesting thing about this matchup is, if we think back to the Nidalee Gragas matchup, the great thing about Nidalee into the Gragas is because she can wave clear better, and once she gets a couple levels under her belt, it's very easy for her to go into the enemy jungle, steal away all the camps, and just basically deny Gragas as much as possible. Speaking of denying, it looks like INTZ trying to deny these early Krugs from Lyon. And now what they can actually do is they could path in a way that would actually deny or delay Lyon getting to the laning phase, but because they have the Trundle, they're a little bit wary of trying to start that fight off. They feel like they would have taken more damage than would have been worth. But both laners going to get to lane at about the same time, and now it's very much a race as to who can get that early push as quickly as they can.
Yeah, micaO throwing down some decent damage. WhiteLotus kind of taking the back end of these trades as Arce starting with that Devour just does not have the tools to dish out damage, but the bot lane pretty even so far. But looking back into the mid lane, as you mentioned earlier, you know, Echo doing a decent job of keeping up with the early Taliyah pressure.
But he is taking a lot of punishment as a result. Already having to burn his health bot just because of the poke that's been coming out as we see double exhaust in the bot.
WhiteLotus in trouble, does get snared up. They're trying to lock him down, flash forward, but he's just going to flash out. He eats up the Trundle, delivered into the tower range. Jockster takes so much damage. WhiteLotus fails to fall. Jockster flashing to safety. You know, a relative bloodbath here in the bottom lane. Both teams burning out summoner spells, but Arce with the one summoner spell advantage. However, WhiteLotus forced out of lane.
Wow, going toe-to-toe in the bottom lane already, and a lot of summoner spells were burned. Everything gone for the bottom lane of INTZ, and the flash still available for the Tahm Kench. So, I mean, we hadn't even had an opportunity to get to the Keystone Masters. We've already got a 2v2 on the board.
And we were expecting aggression in the mid lane, aggression from the jungle, but it's the bot laners who are just going toe-to-toe, and it's, you know, a matchup I like to see. This Tahm Kench versus the Trundle. These guys just duking it out here, and micaO and Jockster already so aggressive, and WhiteLotus and Arce just not afraid to go toe-to-toe there.
No, definitely not. I mean, we didn't have an opportunity to see the full setup. All we know is that exhausts were thrown down, the gauntlet was challenged, and then it was just, it was very back and forth. Initially, the setup for INTZ was great because Jockster was able to get the initial bite down, which reduced the damage of WhiteLotus, which means his ability to trade back was actually very weak. He then had the root being followed up from micaO, and then WhiteLotus was forced to back away. You think at this point Lyon have already lost, but then Arce comes in with the consume, throws Jockster underneath the turret, and now Oddie, he's found Revolta.
He has the level advantage. Revolta going to have to make his way out of here because Gnar is on the way down. This is a great setup for Lyon. They're going to grab first blood. Excellent early play.
Revolta just trying to provide some support for his top laner. He realizes that the gangplank is being pushed underneath his turret. A possible dive is going to be coming out from Lyon. So if he can get control over the Scuttle Crab, then he should be able to provide a little bit more security for Yang. But by trying to provide that security, he ends up falling to the prey of Oddie in the setup. And now, here comes the dive that we were just talking about. Oddie already setting up, just waiting
but there's
for
some action on the bottom side. WhiteLotus, he's not quite so fortunate. Jockster is terrifying on this Trundle, and Arce may be looking for a meal, but that's not one that he wants. Looking hopefully to get a kill here. Thick skin, will it be enough? micaO trying to body block. Flash for one more auto attack.
No.
The trades continue. There's a double creep wave. micaO is in trouble. He's taking his time to fire out. Arce, the Tahm Kench double kill coming through. You gotta respect the tank. Ooh.
Oh my word, I cannot believe he ends up getting the 2 versus 1 outplay. This was the power of Tahm Kench that we were talking about. And remember, in the game before, we were comparing Kalista to Tahm Kench. Well, screw that, because it looks like Tahm Kench can just straight up be anyone that he so pleases. That was just fantastic. We do have to give a bit of praise to the minion wave as well, though. They did help out a fair amount.
You're the real MVP,
yeah,
double
you guys,
minion wave.
You are the real MVP, but that was just a big overstep from the side of Lyon Gaming. This is the power of that Trundle pillar. He cuts off the escape of a no summoner Sivir, and they just go for the all-in. They have the damage that they need, they get the kill, and they feel like they can just go for the cleanup, but then Arce just says, no, this is my time to shine, and he gets himself the double kill, already picking himself up the Sightstone.
Laying down the early vision as well, looking to support his mid laner, make sure he stays safe. This is a big lead coming in for Lyon already, you know, setting expectations on their head. 1.4K, 6 minutes into the game. This is the team that was down and out last time we saw them internationally, but they are stepping up here in the early game. No fear in these skirmishes.
The thing is, in terms of the actual 2v2, and we're going to get to see the setup now.
This is great. This
so
is
here we
wonderful.
are, right. So you can see the overstep from WhiteLotus, and this is the power of the Trundle pillar. So you lock up your AD carry. He takes so much free damage from micaO. And then this is where Arce decides to turn things around. So he has the grey health. He's going to pop it relatively soon. There it is. So he's still going to have a lot of damage. And this is where you have the minion wave doing so much work onto INTZ's bottom. micaO is just slowly waiting for the reload. He's just about to get the crit. And then it isn't enough. He gets a 181 crit. The shield is enough to buy enough time for Arce to then get the Lickitung lip slap, and they end up getting the kill. Just fantastic play overall.
Yeah, cancels an auto too. Just rough life from micaO. The one moment of panic costing him so much, and now they're getting aggressive. Cocoon not going to connect. Revolta going to dash his way out of that one, but you can already see Lyon feel like they are in the driver's seat. They're already looking to make these proactive moves.
So we wondered whether or not Lyon would be aware of the patch. Would they be up to date? You know, would they be able to respond to what INTZ were bringing out? And to be honest, I feel like they're doing a great job so far. The mid lane Echo is working out, putting a lot of pressure down onto tockers. The bottom lane, sort of even right now because Sivir did fall behind, but then the Tahm Kench got ahead. And right now it's a matter of how well Tahm Kench is going to be able to use that advantage, if he can whatsoever. And then the Norte still applying that relentless pressure up in the top half of the map. And Oddie, he doesn't really need to do anything. He just has to play around his laners that are at the greatest risk of Revolta setting up a gank. And it looks like he's going to go for a dive top.
Oh, Yang going to have to back off this tower as they start to pressure in, looking maybe to get the tower first blood, but Yang should have more than enough wave clear to stop this gank in its tracks. Revolta debating where he wants to go as Tockers makes his way down to the bottom lane, not respecting the pink ward, however, will get spotted out. In comes the Weaver's wall. They're looking to start a party. Isn't going to connect, though. Quick Tahm Kench going to pull out. Is it enough? Gray health ticking down. They want one more. micaO is so low. INTZ going to walk away, but walking away empty-handed.
So the disengage from Lions was fantastic. It was enough to avoid the roam coming out from Tockers. Thanks to that pink ward, they were able to deny any sort of setup. The Gangplank ultimate also came out to just try and add a bit of extra damage, and if it had come out a little bit sooner, it may have very well been enough. But now Seiya, he's on the hunt. He realizes that Revolta could be in his jungle, or maybe he's just trying to provide some support in the bottom.
Oh, Revolta want to play safe here, waiting for Tockers to come down. They think they might have an opportunity, but Secret Agent Revolta just going to swing around the bend. Maybe look for an opportunity to go back into the mid lane. No, just going to take this time to counter jungle, but it's a similar story for Oddie on the top side, and he's looking to make a repeat appearance on the threat into this tower dive. Yang, are the oranges going to be enough to make it K? He's really got wondering it. Yang knocked into the tower, is going to eat the oranges immediately. Wallop still up and available. In goes Oddie. They're going to be able to close this one out pretty easily, trying for the outplay, but it is not enough. Oddie setting up the jive. Jirall making sure it happens, and Lyon completely taking control. If they get this tower as well, their gold lead is going to explode, and they're already 2K in the lead.
Great pathing from Oddie, and honestly, this is the best play for Lyon to be able to make. They know that their bottom lane is doing well. The bottom lane is drawing so much pressure from INTZ, and INTZ are not getting anything off the back of it. Gangplank is still struggling in the top half of the map, and there is a big minion wave being pushed underneath his turret. Note that Oddie, his pathing was very much through the jungle of INTZ. He didn't go up through the river. He didn't go through his half of the jungle. He made sure that he took a path that he had control over to increase the likelihood of success. Yang had no vision in the brush because of the relentless pressure that Jirall was able to throw out, and that means that it is a easy kill for the side of Lyon Gang. They get themselves the first blood tower, and now you can just see the gold difference between the two top laners.
3K gold at 10 minutes for the team, and the difference between the top laners, almost all of that in the Gnar. Oh, I mean, this is just an insane performance from Lyon. I feel like after watching them at IWCI, I honestly did not expect much, but they have seriously leveled up their gameplay, and you can see why they were able to so easily dominate their region. They are such a strong team.
They certainly are. But the question is now, can they continue this pressure? Because we're at the 10-minute mark. They have a great setup initially, but there's still a long way of the game to go. And we have definitely seen teams throw away bigger advantages than this. We have to make Lyon have to make sure that they don't get too overconfident, because their setup now is very much around playing around this Infernal Drake. It's a big objective on the board. This is around the time in which we want to try and force it. Some big items are being completed, like the Frozen Mallet. You also had the jungle item completed for Oddie, and we're working towards the Proto Belt for Seiya. And once that Proto Belt gets completed, Lyon, they need to then play around this objective. But INTZ, they're going to try and force it first, and I think this could be a very risky play for them.
Yeah, coming in, they still at a massive deficit. Talker's throwing out a bit of poke, but taking a bit in return. WhiteLotus shoving in on the bottom lane as well. Gnar with the TP available. Gangplank, though, TP and the Cannon Barrage could potentially offer a little bit more, but if INTZ do go for this dragon, they are taking a big risk. micaO now left alone to try to defend this tower against the pressure of Sivir. Should have enough to make this easy, but Sivir not going to get over-aggressive here. Knows there's a lot of members playing around the Dragon Pit.
So this was actually a good response from INTZ. They realized that the next play for Lyon is to go for this Infernal Drake, and so they wanted to make sure that they can just get as much vision control as they can. They force Lyon back by shoving in the bottom lane. WhiteLotus goes to deal with it. They shove in the mid lane. Seiya has to go and deal with it, and that means they can get themselves a Scuttle Crab, which is a guaranteed set amount of time where they now control the river, and Lyon can't just walk up and take that Infernal for free. They're going to have to deal with an INTZ sitting on their back, waiting for an opportunity to strike. And so the response is very good. So Lyon, they've just now returned to standing laning. They're going to continue to apply pressure, but they need to look to try and force these objectives. And that's why Arce, he's now moving up aggressively. He's trying to get these deep wards in. And now that tockers has been forced back, Lyon are free to really do whatever they want.
Oh, and the wave clear stopped. Revolta, though, going to come in and back up his top laner. Trying to stop a bit of the pressure that goes down here, but it's just so difficult. Jirall already with a 2-level advantage, already doubling the CS just about of his opposition. The Frozen Mallet finished as well. Gangplank, we expected him to lose in the early game, but this is so much worse for him.
I mean, it's made even worse by the fact that the dive came out from Oddie, putting Yang at such a massive disadvantage that there are very few options that he actually had available to him. But if you're just speaking of advantages, just look across the map. The AD carry is very equal, which is absolutely fine for the Sivir up against the Jhin, who should typically be coming out ahead in this matchup. You remember how hard this Sivir will scale through the mid game, especially once she hits that 3-item spike. The Echo as well, 20 CS lead, completed the Proto Belt. He also is working towards what looks like the Abyssal Scepter. And he now has so much kill pressure on this mid lane, especially with no flash on tockers, because he was able to burn it out earlier, and this is the power of Assassins as well. So Lyon just have a number of options. They can go for the 1-3-1, they can keep Nara in a side lane while they try and force the dragon, because they have the item advantage, they will win a team fight. They could look to play around the Rift Herald, they could look to extend their vision. The best play, I feel, for them right now is to set up around this Infernal Drake. 13 minutes, a little bit late into the game to actually try and contest this. But, we're going to get an opportunity to see this outplay in the mid. So that is an Echo mid lane. That was just an E in the initial Q. And, he uses the ult to snap back and just to force the flash out of tockers. That was nice. That was just Assassin into Taliyah, really. That's why I like the Echo. It's a good pick.
Yeah, and you would think that the Unraveled Earth would provide a little bit more zone control, but it's just, I think, just not enough.
No, because he's a blink as well. Because you can literally just blink over it, so you take damage from the minefield.
Yeah, if you dash at the start.
Yeah,
right?
if you dash, it'll do damage, but you can dash just before it and then blink over it, so it mitigates a lot of it. It's also why Caston is such a great pick, because you can just rift walk or rift jump, whatever, over the minefield. So they're good picks.
Rift step.
Rift skadoodle,
little fancy footwork to make your way into melee range of that mid laner. But we can see it going on now because Seiya does not hesitate to push in that advantage. The quick 1v1 pickup, we're talking about it. Maybe we'll get to see a replay of it because it was pretty easy coming in. But Oddie now caught out, does have to flash to safety. Actually hoping for a little bit more here. We're just backing away, but INTZ getting just crushed out here in the early game. 5-1 the kill score. Gold lead about 5K now approaching in the favor of Lyon, and Oddie just making it that much worse as he steals away the bit of jungle that Yang is desperate to get.
And that is what a boop looks like, ladies and gentlemen, because that is one powerful Echo. He just walked up and deleted tockers in the mid lane. There was no response available, and now we see more action in the bot.
Hoping for a little bit of trades here. Arce taking so much damage. Jockster, an absolute threat on this Trundle as he pushes forward, but micaO still so far behind. Out comes the curtain call. One shot going to go wide, 2 shots connecting. Eats him up and walks away. INTZ looking for an aggressive opportunity, but Lyon Gaming saying no.
Now Revolta trying to ward up his own jungle through fear of Oddie's pressure, and it is working very nicely because Oddie, he's going to have to back away now, but the actual setup in the bottom lane, a bit of an overextension once again from the Lyon Gaming. Note that Arce took so much damage initially, and then WhiteLotus pathed away from him to try and draw attention away from the Jhin, because Jhin realized that Arce could just easily walk out of range. And so, we're actually going to get a replay of this mid lane fight. So he actually ults back in, uses the Proto Belt to get the burst, and because he's already closed the gap, it's so easy to then
most of those Proto Belt rockets did not connect either. I mean, that was mostly alt burst damage and combo. That's just brutal.
Boop, ladies and gentlemen. That is a boop. So now the setup for the Rift Tower is going to be taken. Going to try and steal it from Revolta. And that was a cheeky play. I like that a lot. He's like, no, this is mine. Claims it for himself. And as well, advantage is gained in the bottom lane because you also trade the exhaust for no summoners. So summoner spell advantage pressure still being exerted by the Seiya. She's now finally accrued herself a CS advantage. She's got herself the Essence Reaver and hasn't suffered greatly as a result of the very early Ghost Blade.
I mean, it's 17 minutes and we're witnessing a 5k gold lead. Lyon are in absolute control of this game, and we look back, we got so excited about the Tahm Kench double kill in the bottom lane, but it wasn't even the Tahm Kench double kill that brought this ball rolling. It was the Gnar in the top lane and Oddie, who has been an absolute monster across the map. Now, he got this team through the early game, but now Seiya and Jirall are just stepping up individually in their lane matchups.
I mean, the thing is, the thing that makes me happy about this game is we're not critiquing the draft. We're not saying these players are just giving free lanes over to their opponents. It is very much very minor outplay opportunities and just not playing the map properly. Because the risk you have with the Gangplank into this matchup is it is naturally a losing matchup, right? They willingly pick this in, expecting the fact that Revolta could relieve pressure in the top. But after that play that happened in the bottom, Revolta's attention suddenly got divided. He wasn't sure where to set up. I know he is 0-1-0. He hasn't done anything in this game. He has not been able to set up any successful ganks. He hasn't provided any support for his top laner. And now you're going up against a 1-0-1 Gnar who's gone for a GA second. You've got an Elise who's well on her way to working towards either the Abyssal or the Rylai's. Seems that she has a bit of both. And then you have also an Echo who can now quite comfortably solo kill your mid laner. And now he's going to do it again.
Going to try to do it again. Tockers goes pop. Jockster goes in, but it's too little too late. And Jockster could be next on the menu. They are going to back off as he uses the subjugate, but ask and you shall receive, Vedius. Instant 1v1 coming out from Seiya. And you can see, I mean, despite the success, he's still got a pretty calm look on his face. Feeling pretty good about this game.
How to boot, ladies and gentlemen. You engage thrusters, and you go into hyperdrive, and you just delete that mid lane. There's nothing that Tockers can do about it now. He's trying to build himself an Abyssal to mitigate some of the burst, but at this point, it is just too little, too late. You can easily put that Echo in a side lane. There is no one that can deal with him. Gnar is exactly the same. I don't agree with the GA pick. I think a Black Cleaver would have just snowballed your lead even further, but there we are. You can't argue with someone who's 1-0-1 and has a 40 CS lead on their counterpart. So
no, or 2-0-0 and has a 40 CS lead on their counterpart. I mean, this is Lyon. I thought Dark Passage were putting on a clinic. Lyon are putting on a clinic here. These guys showing us some clean, confident play. I mean, built from the jungle, built from this mid lane confidence coming in for Seiya. And I was skeptical about how the Echo mid would work out, but clearly comfortable in the matchup. And Tockers looking a little bit lost here.
And the thing is, we have to backtrack to how this all really set up because, again, we talked about how the play in the bottom lane, it didn't really dictate the game, but it alleviated a lot of the pressure. What could have been a great setup for INTZ just ended horribly. They got a kill onto the Seiya. There was a minion wave pushing underneath their turret. They could have accrued a massive XP advantage, a CS advantage. They could have just shut down the bottom lane of Lyon Gaming. And then that could have resulted in Revolta focusing all of his attention top. Tockers could have just pushed mid and roamed. He could have also tried to snowball this Gangplank. But instead, because the Tahm Kench gets himself the double kill, INT's bottom lane is forced to now play on the back foot. He's really struggling to deal anything in the bottom half of the map. Revolta now is scared as to where he should be putting his pressure. And Oddie is now the free one because he can just sit top. And that's exactly what he did. He got Jirall ahead. And then WhiteLotus is just free to outscale his opponent in the mid lane. So Lyon, after just, to be honest, not falling behind in the early game, has resulted their comp to just straight up outscale, and now INTZ is struggling to find any answers to come back.
I mean, not just going to outscale, but it just gets worse than that. 7k gold lead in the advantage, Infernal Drake backing them up as well, and I mean, Elise is building AP, Gnar's got AD, almost every single member is benefiting from this Infernal Drake, and it only gets scarier as time moves forward. Tockers, he's having a good time surfing up that mid lane, picking up what farm he can, but Seiya's already on the bottom side applying that pressure, and really, INTZ are running out of options.
Their next best bet is that Lyon go for a very early, like 22-minute Baron, which they screw up. Baron play is really the best one for INTZ to find an opportunity to come back. You also have the potential of the late game Gangplank. We talked about how once he gets 3 items, you can never really underestimate him. No matter how fed your Gnar is, he's still someone you have to respect. But now it's on Lyon to just keep the pressure up. They have to break into the next line of defenses. The tier 2 turrets are their next options on the board. And it's going to be a matter of how well they're going to be able to do that really determines how strong of a team they are. Because when you have this much of a lead, taking these turrets should be a piece of cake. We're going to see if they can find that opportunity.
Oh, Seiya maybe looking for a little bit more aggressive opportunities here, but micaO sniffs him out with that ward, is just going to back off. However, LYN are now moving to the bottom side, maybe looking to break down some of those tier 2 towers. Oddie moving forward. Sweeper will spot out jockster. Brief visions of his silhouette running through the jungle, but Oddie just going to be happy to take this jungle farm. They're going to watch him take just about everything that they own on the bottom side. LYN with complete control here, but Gangplank getting some free time to farm on the top side. Nar pushing him in, but he's more than happy to pick up those waves. Alt comes out. They're getting aggressive. Seiya runs forward onto micaO. He is going to use the snapback. WhiteLotus in trouble. Out comes the curtain call. Tom Kench says no, but Jirall is here, and he's looking to make something happen. Does have to back off. Seiya jumps forward once again. Hasn't been over-aggressive. INTZ find the kill. Suddenly, LYN are in the pinch, and damage is being dished out. The Gangplank hitting like a truck. Not quite enough, though. Yang flashing forward. Flash out from Oddie, looking to make it out. Have LYN overstep. Jockster throws down the pillar. Yang trying to keep the ball rolling. Oddie in trouble. He's going to get cut down, or is he? Can he make it to safety? Leaps up, leaps to the minion, makes it out in the end. Swallowed up by the Tom Kench as well, but a nice exchange coming in the end for INTZ.
I mean, that's the best they could have got in that situation, trading 1 for 1. They wanted just a couple of more kills, but given how big the goal difference is, they should be grateful that they didn't lose any more. And to be honest, that was just an over-aggressive play from Lyon Gaming. I was so concentrated on what Seiya was doing, I didn't even see how WhiteLotus ended up getting chunked out because it looked like that he had a full health bar and then he didn't have a health bar. So you can see the initial setup. Lyon Gaming want to contest the blue buff, and then Seiya, he didn't want to continue committing because of the exhaust and because he was forced underneath the turret. And then WhiteLotus, I believe, he ended up getting chunked out by a very nice combo from tockers. And then the problem was that now you've already used your ultimate if you're Seiya. You try to go in again for another dive. INTZ have already regrouped so they can quickly focus you down. And then, I mean, at that point, Lyon are just forced to run away from an unfavorable situation. And these are the situations that ITZ are looking for because they need Lyon to over-aggress. They need them to get these shut-down goals so that they can slowly work their way back into this game.
Yeah, INTZ making small moves to come back, but the gold lead still stacked against them. 42.8 to 36.1. 7-2 the kill score, and another dragon on the way. Yang doing his best to farm up, is building towards that Youmuu's. 2 items, a decent spot for the Gangplank to be, but may need a few more before he can be that late game carry that INTZ can rely on. But Oddie continuing to set up on the bottom side, and it looks like Lyon going to continue to apply pressure here, utilizing Seiya's Echo.
So the 1-2-1 big setup right now for Lyon. Just keeping an eye on where the Sivir is moving through the jungle. So looks like jungle Sivir is going to be the plan for Lyon as they make their way round to the dragon. They have good control. It's why you have the Gnar in the mid and the Echo in the bot, so that they make sure that the 2 closest lanes to the dragon are being pushed towards INTZ. And note that Seiya has his TP and the Gnar does not. So it's better to have the Gnar as close as possible for the time being. But this is also something that we need to backtrack, because remember that Jirall was one of the big snowballers. In that last team fight, if he had the Black Cleaver, could that have been something that's turned the fight around? If he'd had more damage, if he'd been more of a threat to the backline, perhaps he could have dived in along with Seiya and guaranteed that kill down onto micaO. But unfortunately, we're not going to be able to find out. He is now working towards that Black Cleaver, but I just have a lot of reservations about this GA, especially when you're snowballing so far ahead. Building defensively is such a big risk.
Yeah, but it doesn't look like it's costing him too much at this stage, as micaO has to Ghost Blade his way out of that exchange, and also forced to build the early mob Morty just to stop this Echo from getting on top of him. But here comes the Baron. Revolta, can he steal it? Curtain Call coming out as well. One shot
they can get this.
Second shot, he can just leap in. They can just take this. INTZ, are they going to be able to get it? They're going to have to throw Revolta away. He's just waiting for the Baron to get low enough. Can they stop him? Elise is going to get it in the end. Great contest coming in for Lyon. Arce trying to run this one in, taking the Elise into the backlines, trying to deliver it to the team. Seiya moving in as well. Tockers in trouble and backs off, but Lyon, they get the Baron. What a close contest.
Oh, that could have gone horribly wrong for Lyon, and that really was the play that INTZ were looking for. You had so few members in the pit for Lyon. That Baron was so incredibly low, and the damage from micaO's ultimate could have been enough to guarantee the Baron in favor of INTZ, but unfortunately they were just a little too short. The combo from Oddie of the Smite plus Q was enough to do. It did about 1100 damage, so the actual execution was great to guarantee that objective. But that play was just so risky from Lyon, something that they really shouldn't have tried to do.
I mean, it works out well for them in the end. The coordination paying off, and Oddie continuing to prove himself a worthy replacement for Theok.
That doesn't make it good. Just because it works, Sifa, doesn't make it good.
I don't care if it's good. It works, and that's what matters for these guys as they push to a 10K gold lead. That Baron making it easy to break these tier 2s, and now it's on to the inhibitor towers.
Oh, my word. That's a wizard's hat. Seiya has achieved full wizard status. That is a very greedy build. Deathcap, while I respect it, it's definitely not something that I would recommend you do at home. Typically, it wants to be your 4th or 5th item after you've got something a little bit more defensive, like the Zhonya's, or maybe a bit of HP. But looks like that Seiya is saying, hey, I just want to kill people. I want to get onto the backline and make sure that they die. And it does a lot for the shield.
Obviously, yeah. So you're getting the best of both worlds here. Getting extra tankiness, getting extra shields. In this case, Jirall looking for extra kills. Trundle, not a Tom Kench, not going to get the opportunity to save him out here. GA going to get triggered. Are they going to look for the backup here? No, they're moving into the mid lane. They're just going to take a tower. INTZ going to get a consolation prize, but it's going to cost them so much. The Gangplank ult, not enough. Inhibitor set to fall for Lyon, and they are just making this look so easy. WhiteLotus, though, he's hungry for blood. He does so much damage. Revolta getting cut down. Jockster running for his life. In goes WhiteLotus. He's flashing for more. Tockers, not enough damage. Yan goes forward. Tom Kench says no. Lyon picking up a couple kills to back up that inhibitor.
And this is the 3-item power spike that the Civet does have once she reaches this point in the in-game. Infinity Edge, Essence Reaver, going for the Static Shiv, a bit of a variation, but definitely impressive to see. And you can just see the late game power that she has. Seiya, though, he's not done yet. Remember that tower that started off all this action earlier on? He's going to pick that one up to guarantee an extra bit of gold for his team. And now Lyon are back in full control after what was a very dangerous Baron.
I mean, you go back to the dangerous Baron, man, but these guys are just too far ahead. I feel like no matter what, there's just not a single mistake that can cost them the game at this point.
3 more Barons.
No, yeah, consecutive mistakes, yes, but they are just so far ahead. 11K, approaching 12K, only 28 minutes into this game, and I am still just stunned, but it's very clear this is a different team coming to the table, and you can even see here, WhiteLotus, this man is a monster.
Crit, 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 crit. This is the power that you have once you've completed 3 crit items. And he would have got that kill onto Tockers if he didn't flash. And that was actually a really good consume from Arce because there was a great risk of him dying to the Gangplank barrels. Fortunately, he was able to get away. Did burn both the summoners. Could be a bit of a risk later on. But we have to give all the credit really there to Jirall drawing 4 members down from INTZ. And not only that, he was able to get the kill down onto micaO as well. So impressive stuff coming out from the side of Lyon Gaming as they look to continue to press their advantage.
12K gold lead, pushing in for more inhibitors. Gnar pressuring the bottom side. It took 4 members to take him down last time, and that was backed up by a tower.
And just want to reference something that we were talking earlier on. Strength of schedule, Sifa. Going up against INTZ, some considered to be the strongest in this tournament. Getting a win right now could be massive for them as Lyon look to try and close out their second inhibitor.
Huge confidence booster potentially because they also are just styling on the opposition. But Revolta sees an opportunity to go in. Is it going to get anything further? And there's a inhibitor dropping on the bottom side. INTZ are being pushed and pulled away. Lyon playing them like a fiddle, but Tockers is moving in. Seiya just going to hop it out to safety. Does get pulled back into the team, but the Gnar goes in, and INTZ are going down. No GA this time to back him up, but in comes Oddie, in comes Lotus, and Seiya does so much damage. The crits ripping through the front lines. micaO now set to fall, is going to make it out, or is he? Seiya leaps forward, looking for a little bit more. Doesn't have ultimate, trades his life for a little bit of glory there on that kill, but now Lyon Gaming have to back off. INTZ holding on to their base, looking for more.
Seiya, that was a little bit greedy. You had a great opportunity to try and end that game right there, and instead you chose to go for more kills. This is something that we have started to see from Seiya for the second time now throughout this game. And to be honest, it's the risk that you have once you complete this Wizard's Cat. You know, it's called the Death Cat for a reason, and it drives you to constantly search for death. And in all honesty, this is why it's such a risky pick, Sifa, because going for its 3rd item, it can drive you to the brink of destruction, where you're always looking for kills, always looking to pad out that KDA. And to be honest, like, it's fine for Lyon because of the lead that they have. They've taken 2 inhibitors down. They can now just group up as 5. They can either look to play around the Baron, or they can just group up top lane and break into the base of INTZ and then use the super minions to slowly close out the game. but it's still, you can see ever so slight weaknesses in Lion's play, and this is something that the other teams will be keeping their eye on, because when you have such an incredible performance against one of the strong teams in this tournament of INTZ, you just have to try and find and punish whatever weakness you can.
And this is just insanely dominant. I mean, at this stage, we're really just wondering how Lyon are going to close it out, because with 2 inhibitors down, only 1 left standing, and this many members with massive leads, it should be pretty clinical from this point out. Maybe they're looking for one more Baron. Maybe this is the point of weakness that we talked about previously. If this Baron gets stolen, INTZ can stall the game out for so long.
Yep. And so INTZ are trying to get some vision for themselves, but it is so risky for them to even move anywhere near their jungle. As Oddie, he's just going to get this red buff for his top laner, and they're just going to extend their vision line so deep. At least 2 members of INTZ have to stay in the base, and it's looking like INTZ are going to have to concede this one.
I think there's not a whole lot of opportunities in here, but maybe Revolta, we've seen him be the miracle man for this team before. But with Seiya waiting in the brush, I mean, even if most of the team backs off, the issue is he's just not going to be able to make it past Seiya or Jirall or whoever they leave behind to stall him.
I'm keeping my eyes on the positioning of WhiteLotus. He is fine because he has his team to support him. Baron going to be, well, it has now spawned. They've actually put Seiya in the mid lane as well, just to make sure that those minion waves are keeping that pressure up. And because of the risk, oh, never mind.
Down goes Gragas. That was instantaneous. Oddie happy to pick up that kill, backed up by the Sivir, but Tahm Kench now delivered into the lane. They're just going to take the last inhibitor. They're just going to take this game. Lyon Gaming, 1 pick should be all that they need, but INTZ, they have so much damage. This is going to be enough for them to hold. 2nd inhibitor now going down. The final inhibitor, actually. 3rd one moving forward.
Could this be the late game gangplank, Sifo? We've talked a lot about it. If he's going to shine, this is his final opportunity to do it.
Oh, Seiya, though, that massive shield. micaO already so vulnerable. Weaver's Wall just trying to buy time. He's split up the team, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Curtain Call coming out, buying Seiya, taking so much damage. Gangplank moving forward. 1 shot, but the Elise goes up. Has to come down in the end. Knock back. Great play coming in, but Arce denying it out in the end. Lyon Gaming, they're not going to be able to close this one out. INTZ are able to hold. Lyon backing off. INTZ, excellent play to hold on there.
Fantastic use of the Taliyah wall to just buy so much time. Lyon could not get around it. They didn't have the super minions to buy time, and because it split up the team of Lyon, you then had great poke from micaO as Revolta.
Oh no, Revolta, that's not what you want. He died there just moments ago, and he looks set to fall again, but Oddie may trade his life. GA now proc. Revolta finally going to down, but Jirall is on the front line. Meganar on the way, but he's not even going to need it. Mininar will close it out. The Sivir double kill, more than enough. Maybe looking to throw an ice block here. Jockster running away, but that is going to be it, ladies and gentlemen. Lyon Gaming, the representatives of Latin America North, take down INTZ. 34-minute game with an insane gold lead and an absolutely masterful performance.
Very impressive to see. Definitely not what I was expecting coming out from this team. We felt like that they would certainly be the underdogs, but then this is also their first performance of the tournament. And after INTZ had such a great performance earlier on in the day, just so many questions were on our mind. What were they going to prioritize? What was their draft going to look like? And we were happy with the draft. We were happy with the play. The initial setup for INTZ was promising, but then they just couldn't really get anything from that early game.
No, and I think that what we saw there was just Oddie showing up in a way that we may not have. I mean, Oddie was a monster that game on that Elise, but additionally, just the winning lane matchups won so much harder than I think anyone expected. The Echo playing, as you predicted, very well into the Taliyah, and additionally, Gangplank and Dinar. Yes, you can afford that small deficit, but not when every other lane you have is losing. I mean, I felt like INTZ were down and out